All right, welcome to this week's BLT on Rye. You're here with your hosts. Someone else go first.
Benny.
You got a letter, too.
It's B, and it's for Batman.
I am Luke, and I'm your L for Lucius Clay.
I would have said Lucius Malfoy.
Well, Lucius Clay is the guy that helps Batman.
Oh.
Is it?
I believe that's
His
Lucius
name's Lucius.
Fox.
Lucius Fox. Ah.
And I'm Tori, T, for the systematic oppression of our society and the fact that Batman could have put his money to so much good and instead wanted to wear a little suit and prance around.
True.
That's true. In the comic books, he does donate a lot of his money.
Yeah, but the amount that he spends on doing Batman stuff could probably do a lot more good. Although I think once you put him in the broader context of the DC universe, where it's not just fighting a guy in clown makeup with some guns,
Yeah, that's true.
and it's interstellar, intergalactic threats, we do kind of need all the Batman stuff. But taken in his own little, Gotham with a guy making riddles and a Danny DeVito dressed as a penguin, that money could have gone to a lot better.
Yeah, that's true. You
use.
can donate all you'd like. It's not going to defeat the Riddler.
Do we even need to defeat the Riddler? Like, I'm sure he's done some dastardly things, but, he steals some art sometimes. Like, just let one of the regular cops deal with it.
I don't know. I feel like...
Although, yeah, after the events of this past week, I don't know if I trust the regular cops to do anything.
I just feel like the Riddler is the smartest of his villains.
That's probably true. Killer Croc threw a rock at him once.
Yeah, see, that's Killer Croc's idea. The Riddler creates riddles.
There's a big rock. Anyway, yeah, man, I wonder if you go back through the BLT episodes and we mention, the subject of the week, just if you can watch the progression of 2020 spiraling down the toilet.
Oh, I'm sure.
I don't know if we ever mentioned the murder hornets. Nothing happened with them. Nothing came of the murder hornets, right?
No, not really.
Like a thing for a little bit.
Yeah. I saw a meme where it was like, what happened to the murder hornets? You think they just read the room and were like, yeah, you guys seem busy, I'll come back later. Alright, so, what are we talking about this week? Well, the thing we're talking about is an episode of the anime Parasyte, not to be confused with the movie Parasyte.
The comic book Money Shot.
And She-Ra and the Princesses of Power.
Yes. I went first last time. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So
tell us.
I chose the comic book Money Shot. It was a comic book I've been reading. It's written by Sarah Beatty. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. Who is a very funny follow on Twitter. And I want to say she wrote for SNL, or maybe it was a different show. I remember there was something with her and SNL, and I don't recall exactly the details. But yeah, it's a comic book about a bunch of scientists who, in order to raise money for their scientific research, travel to outer space and have sex with aliens.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much the premise of it. How did you happen upon this comic? I know you seem to read more comics than most people that I know.
Oh yeah, I read a lot of comics. I used to be we have a Phantom of the Attic in Monroeville. So I used to be a guy who had comic book subscriptions and would, have to go there physically on Wednesday and pick them up. I don't do that anymore, but I still like to read a lot of comics. And I just heard about this because I follow Sarah Beatty on Twitter.
Okay. Straight from the horse's mouth? Or no, I'm confusing my...
Well, at first
idioms.
I looked the gift horse in the mouth. And
Yeah.
then...
What's the one? Straight from...
The source?
Yeah, but there's a phrase for it. It's not important. I like mine better. So, straight from the horse's mouth, you found money shot. Making reference to it in any way, shape, or form is going to be like the money shot that came straight from the horse's mouth. Don't like that. Tori, what were your thoughts on it?
I opened this comic and I thought I opened the wrong comic. I did not know why I was reading this erotica and was confused.
I don't know if it could be classified as that.
Yeah, for when I got into the first couple of pages and like got the premise, I was like, oh, there's gonna be some like porn going on. But any time that there was any sort of like sex involved, which is a lot of it, which is a good portion of the comic, it was very tasteful.
Yeah, it's more about like the idea of it, and
I think part of it was the destigmatization of sex, and like whenever the scientists, because the general premise or plot that all these scientists didn't like each other very much before they went on this expedition, and were all out of money, and all of their research was kind of screwed, and this expedition was going to be like, oh, all of you guys can continue your research, you just have to be in space porn.
Exactly.
And as they like became acclimated to it, they were like, oh, this is just a job. This is just what we do. This is fun. This is how they get to know each other. Like, they become friends through this, and they stop hating each other.
Did you guys just read the first issue, or did you read the entire...
I read... I think I'm missing the most recent issue. I read 4 issues.
Okay.
I just read the first one.
Yeah, so later, Tori, to catch you up, they all do become friends.
Aw, I'm happy.
There's an issue where every comic is kind of broken down on. They're on this kind of fish planet where they're trapped, and then you kind of flashback. And there's one where the flashbacks are all like each individual pair lying in bed together after they've had sex for the first time, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, it was funny going through all their these two people get along very well, and these two people don't, and there's some history here. My favorite was the 2 female scientists that aren't the head scientist. I'm really bad with names in just about everything I do. But the one of them is like a language pathologist or something. I don't know science words. And she developed like a voice modulator. She described it as deep fakes for voices. And she changed her voice to the lead scientist and then started saying like, I don't want to say condescending things, but just like jokingly being mean about her. And the other scientist is like, yes, keep going. I found it very humorous.
Yeah.
I really like...
I think the humor is the best part of it.
Yeah, it's... The amount of sex in the comic that is entirely about sex is surprisingly small. I mean, like, it's a large portion of it, but it's still smaller than I was expecting.
It's more conversations around it and how, it's a very, I guess the term would be sex positive book.
Yeah.
Can I ask, did they ever get to use the Podna Megra technique, which is a means of reaching an orgasm capable of generating an energy release on the level of nuclear fission?
Yes, they did.
They're still working on it. Oh,
and I believe at one point they did.
In the 5th issue they figure it out?
They did.
Okay, well, spoilers.
Sorry.
That is like the I guess if this would be broken down into arcs, this is the first arc, and the first arc is finding that thing, and it's the only person that knows it is a prisoner of a warlord on this fish planet, so they're trying to beat the warlord, and yeah, they're working on it. They're gonna get there.
Yeah. So, Tori, once you realized that you were reading the right thing, did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Did you think it was
No, I would probably read more. Once I was like, okay, no, I'm on the right side. This isn't just some weird fan fiction. No, I was into it. Like, hell yeah, they're doing what they're doing. They seem to be having a good time with it. And they're making their money, and they're getting to explore. I'm all for it. Hell yeah, sex work.
It's very pro-sex work, I believe.
I'm trying to find where they all pick their scientist porn names, and it's really good.
One of my favorite jokes is they're pairing, like, they get their schedule of when they're going to sleep with each other. And the one goes, I have a bye week.
Niels Bohr, Tesla coil, supermassive black hole, which is my favorite, because when they were picking names, he's like, I'm in as long as I get to be supermassive black hole. I forget his first name, but we'll just pretend his first name is Doug, and it's like, your name is Doug Cooch. And it's like, yeah, but I want to be supermassive black hole. He's my favorite. Supermassive black hole is my favorite.
I like, there's a scene where him and I forget what the other guy's name is, but they're lying in bed together.
I believe that is Niels Bohr.
And he's just like, that was nice.
Like, yeah. Like, that wasn't so bad. He was waiting for him to make a snarky comment, and he was like, don't say it. I was gonna say nice. And I love how immediately after they're like, oh, hey, sorry, I'm just defensive because this reason and my childhood and blah, blah, blah. And like, hey, I just poke fun because this is the only way I know, and I was bullied. We get closer together as people. How often do they release new comics? Because, like you said, seems pretty recent. There's only 4 issues out.
I think when they're, like, on, you know what I mean? Like, when it's... When
it's not Corona?
Yeah, once a week. But then it's like Batman is going to come out once a week all year. But I think a comic book like this would probably have, like, okay, for the next couple months we're gonna release either once a week or is bi-weekly twice a week, or is it every other week?
I think it can. I swear there's something about this where like you can use both, but
I'm gonna say bi-weekly, and I'm gonna mean it as every other week.
Yeah, the dictionary definition: done, produced, or occurring every 2 weeks or twice weekly.
That's confusing.
Wow, that's why.
Yeah, that's like a thing. Nobody understands.
But
it can mean once every 2 weeks, twice a week, or you like men and women and you're not very strong. God, I'm so funny.
Look, I need you to
my joke is going to be that you're attracted to both weekends and weekdays.
I need both of you to just like leave the podcast. This is now my podcast.
Leave the podcast? Oh, we're exuding too much comedy power, and it's overpowering.
Oh no, I have all of the comedy power.
You have the power?
Yes.
That is a perfect segue, right?
Oh, is it going to me?
Right, Tori? Yeah.
Yeah. I have the power.
Well, she says, for the honor of Grayskull, but whatever. So I chose the new reboot of the She-Ra series, She-Ra the Princesses of Power. It was released on Netflix last year.
There's four seasons out.
Well, they just released the last one.
Well, I guess, did it air somewhere else first?
No, I think it's a Netflix original. Also, there's 5 seasons.
Wow. They're quick.
Yeah, original release November 13, 2018. 2 years.
Okay. I guess that's still very quick, but...
Yeah.
Yes, so Adora was an orphan, and she's taken in by Hordak. And Catra is like her best friend. And then we get to watch the journey as she discovers that she is She-Ra. So what do you guys think?
We didn't see Hordak, though, did we? Hordak.
No, not yet. One of the things I liked going into it, I mean, I did not watch the original... good lord.
Well,
what was this a part of?
There was He-Man in the Masters of the Universe, and then She-Ra had her spinoff.
Right,
She-Ra and the Princesses of Power? Did it have the same name? I think.
I don't know. Yes, it was She-Ra, She-Ra Princess of Power.
Okay, yeah.
Was the original. And I did not ever watch the original series, either of them. So, going in a little bit blind, but, you know, I picked up the rest of the stuff through cultural osmosis. I thought it was funny how, at the start, it's like, oh, defeat the evil princesses, and they're, like, shooting them, and it's like, no one ever calls the evil people princesses. We must crush the rebellion, the evil rebellion. No one calls the evil rebellion a rebellion. It's like a terrorist organization or the First Order. The rebellion is the good guys.
Tori, what were you saying they mentioned?
Oh, they mentioned the old She-Ra in the series. She becomes a big part of it.
Like this is a reincarnation of She-Ra?
Yeah, kind of. It's like the last person who was She-Ra.
Like the Avatar?
Kind of.
Is that...
The Avatar of She-Ra.
Is that She-Ra the She-Ra who's twins with Prince Adam?
I want to say yes.
Okay.
But I think her name was also Adora, and in this series they call her something else.
Yeah, well, in the... Like you were saying, Luke, I vaguely remember the original series. I think it was something my older cousins, liked. I remember one of them maybe had Grayskull Castle. I remember that toy. So I do remember that in the original, She-Ra was... It's the same backstory, where she was part of the Horde, and then met Prince Adam, and they found out they were twins. It's really, as I'm saying this, it's Star Wars. I guess I've never put that together until I said it aloud. I guess it's kind of not Star Wars because Princess Leia was not part of the Empire, but...
True, but... Well, she was picked up by...
Their father, Darth Vader.
No, I was thinking more, the governor of Alderaan, and was, like, part of... She wasn't part of the evil organization, but she was part of, like, a different organization, and then became part of the rebellion. And I guess Luke was...
He tried to go to...
He tried to join the rebellion.
Oh, did he try to join the rebellion? I thought he tried to go to Imperial Flight School.
I don't think so, but
This, by the way, has to be the most interesting conversation we've ever had on the podcast.
Yeah.
A breakdown of Luke Skywalker's backstory.
Yeah.
But I will say about She-Ra, I really liked the animation. Like, I thought it somehow... It reminded me of 80s cartoons, but didn't look like 80s cartoons.
It reminded me a lot of the animation of Steven Universe.
I am unfamiliar.
Tori, Steven Universe at all?
Yes, Steven Universe.
Is this at all related to that? Just
Not in the show at all. I don't know.
no, not like that. I mean, like who, like the production team or whatever.
I'm not sure.
It was DreamWorks.
No, Noelle Stevenson initially pitched it.
No, maybe not. Maybe it's just similar art style.
And I like the way they updated all the characters. Like, I think this Glimmer looks a lot cooler than the original Glimmer, and definitely Bo looks a lot cooler. The originals, I hate that's like that 80s style where everybody's just like super jacked.
Yeah.
Like, everybody is just doing a lot of steroids.
And it's very easy to date cartoon styles.
Yeah.
That's weird. I find it easier to date humans.
And this is from the person who claimed they had all the comedy power.
Yeah, woof. You have squandered your powers. So what brought you to this series? What made this your pick?
Yeah, were you a big original fan?
Yeah, so I enjoyed the original He-Ra. Obviously reboots. I'm not very old. I am but a wee baby. Or the reruns. And there's this weird bar that I go to in New York, and every time I'm in there, they're playing He-Ra. And it's not like that they are always playing He-Ra, but like...
It's just every time you're there it happens.
Are you saying She-Ra or He-Ra?
I said He-Ra, but I meant He-Man. I'm just always thinking about She-Ra.
I just thought you said it was easier to date real people. But so you're always thinking about She-Ra. Okay, go on, sorry.
You know what I've decided? None of us have comedy power. This is now just straight informational.
None of us are funny. No, so this series popped up on Netflix and was like, recommended for you, a new series. And I was like, alright, bet, I'll watch. And I binged the whole thing, like, so good. And so I've been, like, following it when new seasons come out. And then the last one just came out. It was so good. I did cry.
Oh.
I don't know if you guys, I think you'll watch it or if you want spoilers.
I'll probably watch it. It was interesting.
I've got so little, like, time to watch TV. Like, I've got so many TV shows in the queue, and this podcast hasn't helped, and it's like, I'll go back and watch Friday Night Lights still. I still need to do that, and I haven't.
And you can spoil it because I don't believe in spoilers.
What?
I don't believe spoilers ruin things.
Okay, so,
Well, only if Luke is saying he will not watch it and he does not want to be spoiled. I'm fine being spoiled.
I'm fine being spoiled, so go ahead, but we're going to return to this spoilers thing. So, go on, Tori, tell us.
So in the end, I mean, it's pretty clear, like, in the last, like, season, but Catra and Adora get together.
Oh.
And so the whole thing is great about, like, the LGBTQ stuff. My favorite quote is that, in an interview, the creator said, like, so the network was like, what is the rainbow in the climax of the first season's finale? And Stevenson replied, the gay agenda.
It's here. It's in your finales, the gay agenda.
Like, there's two princesses that are married. Beau's fathers, he has two dads. And then there's, like, a bunch of just, it's so good. They're all, like, gender fluid and gender queer, and I love them all.
That's kind of what happened with Steven Universe. It was a big point for the LGBTQ plus community. To my understanding, I've not watched it, but I know people that watch it and have seen summations of it, and that's like one of the big points for that. So I don't want to say that. No, I was going to say that might be why it reminded me of it, but I never got to any of those points. But I don't know. Something about it just felt like this was going to be a more open show to that sort of thing.
It totally is. Also, The Verge described it as the best animated anti-hero story since Avatar: The Last Airbender's Zuko, who is my favorite.
After we talk about spoilers, I'd like to have a conversation about Zuko.
All right.
Okay.
I don't know who's taking the minutes of this meeting, but...
If the stenographer could read back the report.
I'll read it back as soon as this ambulance passes.
I know that Liz is our official fact checker. We need a stenographer.
We record the whole thing. Isn't that what a stenographer does? They just type it out?
Yeah, but I believe that I don't know.
Like annotate it and stuff. Okay, so spoilers don't ruin things. Benny. What?
I don't believe... They never have for me. I believe if something works, it works whether I know it's coming or not. And that too often shows now rely on this idea of no spoilers, because we're going to hit you with like a gut punch eventually. But really, it's just a gut punch. Like, it's not... There's no substance behind it. It's just...
But sometimes there has to be... I think that veil that stays up. Like, if I were to tell you, hey, Prez shoots a cop. Season 3, Prez shoots a cop.
Yeah.
Prez.
It's a Wire reference.
Like, that wouldn't have... As I was watching that scene, I wouldn't have been in the same state of suspense that I was. Like, the gut punch would have come outside of the show while we're hanging out and you mentioned it. Like, I think it would have impacted a lot different.
Yes, and I don't think I actively seek out spoilers, but I've never gotten a spoiler for something and had it ruined. Like, I think I still feel that same suspense if something is well made enough. Like, I think you would still feel that suspense.
Okay, well, how about in
I watch it back and I still feel like I think they're better on the second watch through.
All right, well, how about then? I guess this wouldn't be the same boat, so we'll table that for now. I see where you're coming from, but things with dramatic twists, not like here's the gut punch, you could have seen it coming, but the twists where like you never would have known. Like the spoiler that Bruce Willis has been dead the whole time.
I guess because that whole movie is built around that idea, you wouldn't want that. But I also think that movie suffers from the idea that it's all built around that.
I'm trying to think of some other. I mean, the most popular spoilers are that Rosebud was the sled. Kaiser Soze
is what I was thinking.
And Darth Vader's Luke's father. But that's so far into the cultural lexicon by now that that's not even a spoiler. That's just existence.
Exactly. And kids who watch Star Wars now know that Luke's his father, and they still enjoy it. Not that Luke is his father. Luke is his own father. That Darth Vader is his father.
But I guess I can't say because I wasn't there for the original twist, but it sounds to me every time I hear it that it was like this huge, oh my god moment, and that's not going to be capturable again. It's not going to be the same movie with this history that it has.
That's not true. I said babies are useless, but once they get to the age where they like almost know things, you could force a baby to watch Star Wars.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It would still... But that's true, but that's only because they haven't been spoiled by this information from existing. Like, they are spoiler-free, so they still can have that experience.
I'm just saying, as a personal thing for me, I'm not one who cares. If other people, I don't spoil things for other people because I know that they care. But I personally do not.
Okay, that's fair. I just wanted to explore that because I don't think I've ever heard that take from anyone.
It could be because, I enjoy reading books. My whole family reads books.
I didn't know you would read.
What?
What?
I didn't hear that.
I said I didn't know you could read.
Most people can read, save for you, Tori.
I think the only two people I know who can't read are you and Shoeless Joe Jackson. They're the two famous illiterates in my mind.
That feels right.
Well, I was going to say that my whole family likes to read, and often a thing, I know at least my mom does, and I think my dad might do it, is read the last chapter first.
Real?
Yeah.
Wow. Does that include the Bible?
Possibly. I don't know. I've never seen a human read the Bible.
And we said none of us were funny.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't derive a lot of humor from that one.
I thought it was very... I'm going to open the Bible, but I'm going to read the last chapter first, which is the chapter about the end of the world.
Spoilers!
Yeah, I haven't finished it yet, Tori.
I thought you said you read the last chapter first!
I've never read the Bible.
It's long as hell, and it's a dense read. We're working on it.
Me and Luke have a book club where we're reading the Bible.
Why wasn't I invited? Because I can't read.
You read the whole thing and you spoil the endings.
You know the ending.
There was an audiobook.
Like I said, there's some cultural things you pick up. Yes, I know Jesus dies.
He what?
You can't tell me that you read the last chapter. You know that it's the end of the world, and you don't know that Jesus dies.
I only know the last chapter.
Look,
you read the last chapter and then didn't start the rest of the book.
Yeah.
And I know Job eventually meets a whale, but that's all I know.
Yeah.
Did you say Job?
And Job.
Oh no, Jonah and the whale. I'm sorry.
Jonah and the whale. Job has his own book, and this is all from cultural osmosis, Tori. Like, I've just seen him hanging up on stuff, not looking like he's having a good time.
This is cultural.
So I know
Jesus. 8 years of Catholic school.
Oh, I had CCD for many years, and I was an altar boy.
Tori, were you raised religious?
You assume I was raised.
Were you raised in a barn?
I mean, like, a little bit.
Close the door. That's the only thing you gotta know.
Can we talk about Prince Zuko now?
I would love to talk about Prince Zuko.
Real quick, just throwing this out there. Even if you were raised in a barn, why wouldn't you close the door? That's how horses get out.
I just said that!
Oh, I didn't hear that.
I said that's why all the horses got out.
That phrase never made any sense to me. Anyway, Zuko.
The Prince Zuko redemption arc is fine.
Fire. You misspoke.
It's good. It's better than it should be. It is not the best one of all time.
What's the best redemption arc then?
I think the best redemption arc is probably Don Draper.
That's Mad Men?
Yes.
I have not seen it. So, I can't comment on that. I will agree that it's definitely not, like, the best thing that there ever was. I think why a lot of people hold a lot of the stuff in Avatar so highly is because the people that are talking about it are people our age who were, like, 10 to 13 whenever this came out, and this was the first, like, episodic, multi-season, like, a narrative that continues over multiple seasons. And this is the first exposure a lot of people had to that sort of storytelling style.
I'll agree with that.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
What?
Digimon.
Yeah, I will. Anime also was like one of the earliest experiences I had with that. But even the early anime that came to America, like Pokemon, there was a narrative over a long period of time, but each episode could be taken on its own, and like you wouldn't have to know anything else from the rest of the series. There was no backstory needed. It's just like, oh, they have monsters, they fight, and they're moving around this country. But Avatar, if you got plopped in the middle and saw Zuko struggling with his identity as a Fire Nation prince, but also an outcast and all these different things, you'd be like, I don't have the context for this.
I understand it was maybe the first that they have, but it almost feels like they've encountered none since.
Well, there's just a certain amount of nostalgia that plays with it, where it was the first time people have seen this, so it hits so much harder. Like, I'm sure people have seen better redemption arcs since then, but you always remember your first redemption arc.
I guess. That's a fair point. I've just seen like 500 articles in the past 2 weeks about how
good it was.
Yeah, and it's fine.
I also think a lot of that has to do with, it's on Netflix now, it's the hot thing to talk about, and a news article that says Zuko's redemption arc was pretty good isn't going to play well.
You know who the redemption arc I don't think gets the love it deserves? It gets more hate than I think it should. Snape.
Have we been over this before, that Snape's a bad character?
Snape is a bad character and a bad dude, and I don't like him.
Snape is one of my favorite characters.
You're wrong.
I think we have been over
I
this.
also
This
feel like
happened
we've
on
been
the
over.
podcast.
I don't know if we've been over on the podcast or just like in our lives.
Why do we not like Snape?
Because he was literally like so obsessed with this woman, and then he hated her son for no reason, and the only reason he was like, oh, well, maybe I'll like do good, is because he was still in love with this woman who did not love him back.
Yeah, I'm on that side. Snape was just kind of like a weird, creepy douche, and only did the right thing at the end because he was extra weird and creepy.
I guess maybe that's why I find him so relatable. Is like, yeah, he only did the right thing for selfish reasons.
Yeah, but
you know who's unrelatable? Harry Potter, who does the right thing and seems to gain nothing for it.
I'll agree with that. I'm just very much not into the Harry Potter series. Like, it was all right.
I'm obsessed with it. I'm currently re-listening to all the books right now at work.
Maybe it wasn't you guys that I had this discussion with. Maybe I had this discussion with Bob and them.
No, I feel like we've had this discussion. I definitely distinctly... Well, I've also had this discussion with other people. Damn.
Yeah.
Have we?
Everyone I know loves Snape, so I've never had this discussion.
If the court stenographer could please look at the records.
Fact checker, after you listen to this, come tell me if we talked about Harry Potter before. Also, real quick, let's talk about the Harry Potter houses, in that they're all bad.
No.
Yes.
You guys think when we sorted ourselves into Harry Potter houses playing a game, I really think we got it wrong.
Okay, what are your takes?
As we know, I'm a Hufflepuff. I'm a very proud Hufflepuff. My coronavirus mask is the Hufflepuff logo.
Mm-hmm.
I would say Tori's the Ravenclaw.
Wrong.
Luke is the Gryffindor. And Cody's the Slytherin. Cody's our friend, by the way. For those listening at home. I hope he listens.
I doubt he does.
I doubt it.
But if he does,
he gets enough of us. I will say if anyone doesn't need to hear the three of us have a conversation, it's Cody.
Yeah. So, my takes on the Harry Potter houses are all of the... Anytime I talk about like what they are, everyone's like, oh no, Hufflepuff stands for this. And it's like, yeah, that's what the book says. But when you look at the reality of, like, who goes into each house, Gryffindor isn't the brave and courageous people. Gryffindor's the good guys. Slytherin isn't the ambitious and power-hungry. It's the bad guys. Ravenclaw aren't always the smart people. They're the convenient plot device. And Hufflepuff's the weirdos that they couldn't figure out where to put anywhere else.
I'm going to disagree with that on the point of Cedric Diggory is pointedly the coolest guy there.
Yeah, but is he, like, that cool?
Yeah, I think every Hufflepuff you meet in the book just seems chill. Like, name the weird Hufflepuff.
Like I said, I'm not that into Harry Potter, so my arguments here may hold less water because I've listened to the books, but only once.
The two most prominent ones are Cedric Diggory and Tonks, who are both, like, statedly the coolest people they know.
Yeah. How dare you think I'm a Ravenclaw? I'm still on it.
But you're very smart.
I'm an idiot.
What? She can't even read!
You're, like, I think the things you're smart about, you're much smarter about than other people.
She's an art kid. She dyes her hair, and she's a vegan. She's a Hufflepuff.
I'm not a vegan. I'm a vegetarian. I'm selling my body for social justice. I think I am either a Gryffindor or a Slytherin.
Of the two, I'd put you in Gryffindor. Because, like...
There it is.
You know, like, I don't think of Slytherins as being evil. They're just ambitious.
Are you saying I'm not ambitious?
No, he said he'd put you in Slytherin or Gryffindor over Hufflepuff.
No, he said of the two.
I'd put you... Well, because I also think you're very brave. I think your braveness outweighs your ambition.
Yeah, you can't be mad if someone puts you in a house and you're like, wait a minute, I'm not in Ravenclaw, I'm not smart. Like, yeah, but you're the other things. You could be smart and be in the other houses. You're just the other things more.
I am not smart. I am not a Ravenclaw.
No,
but you guys also,
I'm not saying you are.
When we played this game, you put me into Ravenclaw, and I'm not smart.
Yeah, but you're bookish. You worked in a library. You have a degree in library sciences.
Yeah, but like...
That does sound very Ravenclaw. You do a lot of trivia.
Like,
you are kind of smart, Benny. You're kind of a
Ravenclaw.
I mentioned I've built some of my identity around being a Hufflepuff, right? And you guys are just going to take that away?
We are.
Oh, snatch that right up.
That seems mean.
Well, maybe you shouldn't build your identity around Badger people.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is... I do think that they do a good job of showing how each of the four houses, like, embody their, or I guess, when I say they, I mean J.K. Rowling, does a good job of...
Is an awful person.
She is, but, like, what am I going to do about that?
I just wanted it to be known.
I mean,
J.K. Rowling is a trans.
I may not be in the know here, but I wouldn't call her awful. I would call her, like, misguided and probably trying to do better at being inclusory, but, like, just wasn't at the time when she made her magnum opus.
I think I would have said that about her 2 years ago. I think in the past 2 years that she's kind of shown
that she doesn't actually care about what she's trying to put forward. She's just, like...
I don't know, because it's a weird thing of, like, she created this fantastic book series that taught at least me a lot about doing the right thing and accepting others and kind of having a lot of love in your heart for humanity. So that must be in her somewhere, but she seems to not have access to it on a day-to-day basis. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like, it's there somewhere, but she can't summon it up to put into her tweets.
Yeah, like that somehow her beliefs seem to not reflect this thing she created that came from... It's like, do you guys know Morrissey?
Yes.
He's also like a real, like, awful person. And it's very strange to think about the guy who has songs with lyrics like "It takes strength to be gentle and kind," and all this stuff that really appeals to these outsiders and disparate communities. That he himself, he can write that and sing it, but he can't live it.
I think that just happens to people as they get old.
Yeah, it could be that.
Is that they become awful, or that their true identity show?
Maybe a little bit of both. Just become jaded and sad and bitter. I mean, like, a lot of people don't, but I'm just thinking of a lot of other musicians that, like, started off being progressive and inclusory and good, and then as they went on, eventually been worse.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess my only thing is I find it so hard to believe that somebody could
start there and devolve.
I find them both hard to believe that somebody could start there and devolve, and I think what Tori is saying, that maybe they were always that way. And it's like, it seems so weird that you would be able to come up with this artwork that reflects this different idea than you had, but I guess I don't know. I have no idea.
There's a possibility that we, as a collective, have just ascribed more meaning to, like, what if she has always been this way, there never has been that love in her heart, and she just wrote a cool story about wizards, and it just kind of came out that way.
Yeah.
That seems like a very callous and dark way of looking at it, but
I think
it's possible.
For it to be so representative in that work, like, Harry Potter is so about being inclusive and standing up for what's right that it can't be a coincidence. But I do think maybe she had no idea that it was, like, I don't know. I find it so strange. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, like, she does, like, now, she doesn't seem to be that person.
Well, enough about Harry Potter that we all read this week, and,
I think anyone from our generation could have, like, an easy 40-minute conversation about Harry Potter. It's just so ingrained in all of us.
Yeah. Any last thoughts on She-Ra?
Highly recommend.
The music was real cool, too.
It's pretty dope.
Highly recommend.
Sorry, what was it?
Highly recommend.
Okay. Last thing, I had you guys watch an episode of Parasyte, the Maxim, which is an anime that, I'll just give my quick backstory. When I was in high school, hanging out at the library for some event, I was like, oh, hey, there's a Japanese comic section. Cool, let's see what that is. And then I found a cover that looked really sick. It was a guy's hand, and it had an eyeball in it. And I'm like, ooh, that looks gross. Let's see what this is. And I read it, and it was the first manga series I ever read. And then in 2014-15, they released an anime for it. And that is this. The general synopsis is that, I say that phrase a lot, general synopsis.
That should be your drag king name.
My what name?
Drag king name?
Drag king. I am General Synopsis. Wear like a military uniform.
Yeah.
So, a bunch of alien parasites rain down on the Earth, and they try to get into and take over the highest life form, which is humans, by digging into their ear and taking over their brain. And then at that point, they're just in control, and after that, they're like, oh, well, I'm just going to, gruesomely eat a bunch of people, and I can morph my body into just body horror stuff, peel their whole mouth back, and it's full of teeth and stuff. And the main character, Shinichi, he is asleep, and a parasite makes it into his home, but he's wearing headphones, so it can't get in that way, so it tries to bore through his arm, and the pain of it stabbing into his hand wakes him up. He sees something crawling up his arm, and he, tourniquets his arm, and then passes out, and is like, whoa, that was a weird dream. The parasite matured in his arm, so it was only able to take over his arm, and it has, its own consciousness. I don't believe it's in the first episode. In the second episode, he names it Migi, because Migi is Japanese for right, and it's his right hand. And then he has to go around encountering all sorts of other parasites in other people and creatures and places. And no one on Earth really knows about these parasites. This isn't like, oh, we have to close our windows because the parasites are coming at night. This is all fresh to everyone. So, you guys watched the first episode. Thoughts?
I think they probably used a very similar image for the Hulu thumbnail. That was it's kind of his arm, and there's his thumb's a blade. And there's a mouth and an eye on his hand. And I also thought gross. But I don't think I would have had the same impulse as you. As gross. What is this? I would have just been gross.
Put that down. Tori?
No, that was my thought too. I was like, what the fuck?
He, it was very... I'm happy it was an anime. Because I don't know if I could have watched a live-action version. And I thought that
there is a live-action version
on the Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Yes, there is a live-action version of this. From what I've seen, it's the CGI makes it a little bit more watchable compared to not if you are grossed out by the blood and gore and body horror. It's pretty heavy CGI, and you can tell it's CGI, and that to me would probably make it easier. I'm throwing on a release trailer to see what it looks like.
I don't do really any type of horror, but I especially don't sit well with body horror. It's very unnerving. I understand that is the point, but...
Yeah. Some of it's kind of goofy looking, but there is some of this, that looks pretty gross. Well, maybe that'll be my next pick. We'll just watch the live action. Is that a no thanks from you guys?
Yeah. So, do you know how we were talking about spoilers? Anytime I watch a horror movie, and by watching a horror movie, I mean am forced to watch a horror movie, I have been tricked into watching a horror movie a weird amount of times. I don't like horror movies. I am very easily scared. But I always have to Google the synopsis so that I can...
oh, okay, this is how it's over.
Yeah, and the worst part is that I'm an actor, and so I know, these are actors, in a horror film, they're at the release party, and there is still, I can't do it. Especially demons or jump scares. I don't fuck with demons. We know this.
So, not a fan of the Babadook.
I've never seen the Babadook.
Oh, he's a demon and there's jump scares.
Yeah, that sounds like my nightmare.
It's also a metaphor for depression.
What do you think the last horror movie you saw was?
Somebody made me watch, oh god, what was it? Luke, do you watch horror movies regularly?
I watch some, yeah.
The one where, Inheritance.
Inheritance?
Where she, the girl's head got cut off.
Oh!
Heredity.
Oh, the Heredity, yeah.
Yeah. My friend Kevin told me that we were going to see the Mr. Rogers movie.
Jesus!
Heredity was, in my opinion, way too far. I enjoyed it till a point, and then I just went, this is too much.
Have you seen Midsommar?
I have. I like Midsommar a lot more.
Oh man, the opening scene is so brutal.
It is, but for some reason I was like, this is dope.
I thought that movie was absolutely sick, but like watching that opening scene, I was sitting practically alone in the theater because no one went to see it. And it's just like, oh no, oh Jesus, no, please no.
I did want to say about Parasyte that when his hand like takes the Parasyte form and is like talking to him, it looks like the guy from Real Monsters.
Oh yeah. Who holds the eyes in his hands. Migi's kind of cute. He has some good moments in the series. He's kind of funny. That's sort of, I don't know what the trope would be called, but like he is completely alien and knows nothing of like culture or idioms and that sort of thing. He learns them very quickly. He goes on the internet, but he still has that like humorous naivety.
Is he evil? I kind of got the sense that he was evil by the way that he just had no feelings or emotions.
You could say that, but I think it's more that, yes, he has no feelings and emotions. So that is something that is, like, generally evil and horrifying in our sort of culture and media. But he just survives to eat. He wants to live. Like, that's all. If throughout the series he works together with Shinichi to survive and help take out other parasites, because other parasites are trying to kill him, and if humanity found out about parasites, it would be bad for Migi because he would get hunted down. But I think at any given moment, if you were to ask him, like, hey, I can snap my fingers and make you take over his brain rather than his hand, he'd be like, oh, yes, do that, please. Like, the circumstances that he's under makes it so that he is not evil. He's just kind of there. But if circumstances were changed, he would certainly be evil. Until, I assume you guys aren't going to watch it because it sounds like you're pretty grossed out by it.
Yes.
Later in the series, he eventually like starts developing more, and eventually he just kind of goes into, at the end of the series, spoilers, goes into a sort of, I guess hibernation. He's just like, all right, Shinichi, I've done all I can. Like, I helped you out and everything's good, so I'm just gonna like leave now. Bye. He does awaken to like help. The climax of the series is there's one Parasyte person left who has been like a bother.
I'm assuming
and
that's the one that we saw in this episode, the guy who like opened his face.
No, I don't think so. I think it's a different one. He's like, a lot of the Parasyte people are just kind of like, I'm going to eat a bunch of people because I'm hungry. But a couple of them like develop intelligence rather quickly, and they're like, oh, I'm going to plot to take over the entire world with parasites. But one of them like finds Shinichi after several years and kidnaps his girlfriend and like goes to throw her off the roof, and Shinichi like can't reach her in time, but his hand extends and catches her, so it's like, oh, Migi's still there, and he's still here to help.
Okay.
Although it's kind of ambiguous because, like, you don't see it, like, super extend. It's just, like, he goes to reach her and he's thinking, like, I'm not going to make it in time. But he does. And in his mind, he's like, thanks, Migi. But it's like, oh, maybe he just reached out. You never know. I think it's a very... I mean, aside from the blood and gore and body horror, which are, like, that's my jam, so you guys probably won't like that. But the rest of it is definitely a... funny, maybe not even funny or fun, but like an interesting, it feels pretentious to say look at the human experience from the outside, because this is a parasite who doesn't understand human things like emotions or morality, but he kind of tries to teach it to him over the course of the show, because there will be moments where it's like Migi says, oh, we found another parasite. It's trying to kill us. We should go kill it. let's just go murder it in a crowd full of people where we have cover. And Shinichi would be like, no, we're not doing that. People could get hurt. And Migi has to go, fine, here's a plan that will harm no one, and it'll keep everyone safe. And over the course of the series, he eventually, like, starts to adapt to that mentality of, like, no innocent bystanders, keep people from getting as hurt as possible, that sort of thing.
Oh, I love a personal journey. Maybe this is the best redemption arc.
Yeah, but you guys would never know.
If it wasn't so scary, I would know.
How is this scary, but you watched Heredity?
I said it was too much.
or Midsummer, like...
something about Midsummer. Midsummer, I think, had such a clear theme that it really helped.
What was the clear... Help me. I miss themes and stuff so much. Please tell me what the theme of Midsummer was.
It was like her independence. Like her kind of coming into her own... I guess I'm going to say womanhood.
Okay. That's kind of about where I was at, and like... the idea of overcoming her past trauma and her shitty relationship and blah, blah, blah. But, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I miss a lot of things.
A very fun triple feature, Florence Pugh triple feature. I have to say Pugh weird because that's how Pusha T kind of improvises. But would be Fighting With My Family into Midsummer into Little Women. It's a very strange career she's had.
Have you ever heard of the movie Bone Tomahawk?
No.
Ooh, it's a Western horror, and it is... a majority of the movie is just mostly suspense, but there are a couple scenes of just, like, very gruesome horror. It was probably the most uncomfortable minute of movie I've ever watched. That and the start of Midsummer. Probably just the two worst things. And also, I was thinking about this for next week. Have either of you guys seen Sorry to Bother You?
Yes. I was thinking, I don't know if you guys have stuff picked out. I was thinking we should try to do all stuff by like African American creators next week.
That was also my thought!
That would be good. I was going back to music. I already did Zeal and Ardor. Benny, have you listened to the new Run the Jewels yet?
One song, so we could do that.
Yeah, it came out 3 days ago. I mean, I'll pour through my catalog and see what I've got. Unfortunately, metal... I don't want to say it's not an inclusory genre, because people in it are generally very inclusive, but, like, there's definitely not as many... Most of the artists are white dudes. Oh. Benny, you already listened to Brockhampton, right?
Yeah.
I also listen to Brockhampton.
And you listen to Death Grips?
I've never heard of Death Grips.
You've never heard of Death Grips?
No.
Tori, have you ever heard of Death Grips?
Where you grab something very tightly?
Holy moly, we're picking Death Grips.
Okay.
Well, I mean, generally our episodes run an hour 15, an hour 20, so we have some time if we want to talk about stuff, but we could also, not. Anything been eating at you guys? Anything you want to talk about?
Sending my support to the Black Lives Matter movement and the protests, absolutely. If I wasn't awful at being on the front lines, I would absolutely be out there, but I'm doing my work behind the scenes, racking up them donations.
Yeah. Benny, anything you want to talk about?
No, just similar to that. Full support.
I would also like it to be known, have you guys seen the protester in like the full like riot gear?
Yeah.
So there's four of them.
Not.
There's Riot, Tank, Alpha, and there's Scales. She's got a couple different names. But there is now a fan fiction about Riot. Like, the wildest groups are joining together on this stuff. Like,
I have seen like the Amish and the witches are here, and
You've got the K-pop stands flooding the Twitter stuff. I'm just waiting for oh my god, there's so many good memes about let's get the furries out there. Let's get the leather daddies out there. There was a really good tweet that was can you imagine the cop standing there and then these people in all leather running forward yelling harder daddy as they're shot with rubber bullets?
Oh man, good stuff. Well, that feels like
a
pretty
nice
good.
point.
Yeah. Well, if that's the case, then
F&B.
Tori, you want to plug your social media?
Yeah, follow me on social media, Too Much Tori.
I've been L. I don't have any social media. Don't follow me.
F&B, I do have social media, but I don't really tweet. I'm more of a retweeter.
Benny did just get a TikTok, and I am so proud.
Really?
I've yet to TikTok either. I've yet to been tricked into a TikTok.
Last week you were tricked into a TikTok.
I
was editing the podcast. Yes. I was editing the podcast, and I did hear that portion. We were tricked into a TikTok.
I was a girl in the village doing all right. Then I became a princess overnight.
Anyway, so this has been BLT on Rye.
Benny, do you say anything at the end?
I don't say anything at the end now.